Well, let's talk to Miri Eisin from the International Institute for Counter-Terrorism at Reichman University in Israel. Appreciate your time this morning. Harry Phibbs there saying Israel's made astonishing progress in the last 100 days. I would argue that perhaps over the last awful 100 days, Israel's no closer to destroying Hamas than it was on October the 8th.
So I'm going to argue with that one there, Stephen, because we're certainly that much closer. We need to differentiate between what the Hamas is. When it comes to their military capabilities, the Israeli Defense Forces have been systematically destroying the terror capabilities, the underground subterranean tunnels, the cache of weapons, the rockets, the mortars, the suicide drones, the UAVs, the production facilities. They're so widespread. We've been systematically destroying those in the northern Gaza Strip. In the northern Gaza Strip, it doesn't mean that you destroy everything, but you have gotten to the stage where what they're doing now is just that small amount of pop out of a tunnel. They built so many, they're still there, but pop out of a tunnel, you see an apartment building, you say, why is that destroyed? The above ground was booby-trapped. The underground is the tunneling. The hostages themselves were held both in the northern Gaza Strip and in the central and the south. You've been speaking about 100 days of war. From the beginning, we've all said, this is a long war. Hamas used 2 million people as their human shields. They've used such an extensive underground subterranean system as their own defense for themselves. They're using the hostages as the bargaining chips. And when you take those together, are systematic, going after both the capabilities and the infrastructure and the facilities and the weaponry, we're way further than we were October 7th or 8th. And you're absolutely right. There's still a lot of work in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very sad day to sort of think that it's 100 days of this. What are your thoughts, particularly about the hostages who are still inside Gaza in Hamas hands?
So while you were showing the pictures of the destruction in the Gaza Strip, that Hamas built this entire urban community to be booby-trapped, and the only way to get against them is to do that kind of destruction of those above-ground booby traps. Right now, I'd love it if you would show the pictures of the hostages, of what we can say right now at this stage are over 250 Israeli citizens, 9-month baby who's supposed to be a year pretty soon, an 87-year-old Holocaust survivor. And when we're talking about the 250 people who were taken on October 7th, that we still don't know exactly who was taken, what their situation is, are they alive, are they dead? Were they taken into these underground systems that you're showing right now? Where are they? How are they? Hamas have never said. It is a terror organization. In Israel right now, 100 days of war is 100 days for these 146 families. It's trying to know what their loved ones are like, but it's for every single one of us. This could have happened to you, to me, to anybody. The Hamas terrorists came into our towns, villages, pillaged, tortured, raped, and took hostages, killing the hostages' family in front of the hostages' eyes. 100 days like that in these tunnels in captivity. Inside Israel, we're not in a situation of let's just destroy Hamas. We're in a situation of bring our citizens home, bring our people home. There are more than a dozen women who have been held in captivity for 100 days. And when we talk about it, we don't like to describe what that means. I feel that when Israel put on trial for the most ridiculous, heinous, impossible idea in The Hague right now, just the idea of that, the description of the Israeli defenders as they were talking about these hostages. So I don't have a daughter who's a hostage, but I know people who have daughters my age. I have a daughter who's 22, and there are 22-year-old women who have been held hostage for 100 days, and their crime is that they're Israeli and they were taken from their homes. How about your grandfather or your husband or your child? We're talking about an impossible situation, and it affects every Israeli.
As you say, it is an impossible situation, and as much as, I mean, you're focusing on those hostages, and look, and understandably so. I mean, we were talking to the sister of a hostage yesterday, and to try to imagine what they're going through is frankly impossible. And yet, with all this, as we look back over 100 days, you've also got to look to the future and what they call as sort of an exit strategy and all the rest of it. How do you even begin to look at what could happen over the next year or so? Actually, when you look at that destruction in Gaza, which you say, well, look, it's been necessary because of how Hamas operates, because of the booby traps and all the rest of it. But you can't leave it in that state, can you? Because all that's going to do is reinforce the Hamas ideology, which is what you want to get rid of. So it's very difficult to know how there is any sort of solution to this which will be helpful to either side.
Let's go forward step by step. Having Hamas as a terror organization that can do the kind of modus operandi, the kind of action that was done on October 7th, you, me, the entire world, we don't want that kind of success to be the thing that is the message to the world. When we talk about the radicalization, can I be almost cynical on such an early Sunday morning? I think that they were pretty radicalized already, dehumanizing the Israeli side to such a degree that they did the attack of October 7th. That's not something that is going to be worse after October 7th. I kind of thought that they hit bottom there. And I don't mean to be cynical about it, but I want to go forward. We need to change the equation. It means that a terror entity cannot rule over an arena. That means both destroying the terror capabilities and not Israel, not even the international community, but local voices that are not the extremist Hamas voices trying to run day-to-day life. For a moment, I don't think that that's easy. That radicalization is something that was there before. It's what brought about October 7th, not just the planning of the attack, but thousands of terrorists coming into Israel, doing the most horrific, barbaric attacks. They were already pretty radicalized before. And again, I'm kind of being sarcastic, which I shouldn't be about. I think that as we go forward, we need to change that equation, that there are no safe havens for arenas that allow this kind of radicalized education system. Let the Palestinians themselves, and there are other voices, talk about a different kind of education, focusing not on the destruction of Israel, but on their own future, on having a better future for their children. I hope it for them. In my destroying Hamas capabilities, I truly believe that we are trying to give a better future for the mothers, for the children, for the Gazans who are in the Gaza Strip. Let those 2 million people have a better future than the one that Hamas was offering and still says in trying to destroy Israel and in doing such an attack again and again.
Miri, Eisin, really good to talk to you this morning.
Thank you very much. 100 days since that terrible, terrible attack on October the 7th.